Hi, this is Adam Calhoun. This is my presentation on teacher-student relationships, classroom environment, and student intrinsic motivation, and examination through self-determination theory. I have arranged this presentation very similar to how our Chapter 3 was set up. The only change that I made is I moved the research questions up so that way they would be addressed earlier on and it would make more sense as I went through the presentation. The research design is based on the theoretical framework of self-determination theory created by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, which operates under the assumption that in order to operate at kind of like maximum ability, an individual needs to have their psychological needs of relatedness, autonomy, and competency met. For the purpose of this research, I'm focusing on relatedness and autonomy. Relatedness is feeling welcome in one's environment. So a student would need to feel like their teacher values them as a person and creates a welcoming environment for them. And then autonomy, if you were a student, it would be like if a teacher allows you to kind of work in a way that fits your learning style, or you were allowed to select a topic based off of your interests. I've used a mixed methods approach to this research, so that way I'm including both quantitative and qualitative data to get a full picture of the study. The first research question is, to what degree is high school student autonomy associated with the relatedness the students feel in their classroom? So how does autonomy come from relatedness? Research question 2 is, to what degree is high school student intrinsic motivation associated with the relatedness the students feel in their classroom? So how do intrinsic motivation and relatedness tie together? How are they connected? And then finally, question 3, how do teachers build feelings of relatedness with their students in the 9-12 classroom? So what strategies, what skills do teachers use to build teacher-student relationships and create a welcoming classroom environment? The participants are going to come from the school that I work at. There are 92.5 teachers. We share half a teacher with the middle school, so they spend half the day with us and half the day with the middle school. And then there are roughly 1,200 students in grades 9 through 12. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but usually right around that number. The student population is categorized as 100% economically disadvantaged. While not all students have that designation, the number was high enough that through the Ohio Department of Education, we have been bumped up to 100%. So I'll be taking my participants from these pools of people. The instrumentation and data sources are a student survey, a teacher survey, and classroom observations. So the student survey will be conducted from the end of October to the middle of November. There will be 3 open-ended questions and 8 Likert scale-based questions. I designed the questions and kind of revamped them so that they are easy to understand at a 9th grade comprehension level. That way, all students grades 9 through 12 should be able to comprehend them. The questions that I used were informed and based on the research that I gathered in my literature review. And the survey will be conducted in the English classroom. While the study is not based in the English classroom as far as the information that I'm trying to gather, there are 2 reasons why I'm using the English classroom. One, I'm an English teacher, so I will be able to use kind of my relationship with the teachers to ensure that they actually conduct the survey. And then 2, English is the one course that all students grades 9 through 12 are required to take each year, so it'll give me the best chance to get a wide sample population. The teachers will place the link for the survey on their course Google Classroom page. The survey has an open-ended question where the students will be able to answer freely in a way that kind of fits with their thoughts, and those responses will be coded using MaxQDA. The questions 1 through 3 each provide data that will be used to answer questions 1, 2, and 3. So question 1, which is focused on how teachers can create teacher-student relationships, helps provide information for research question 3. Open-ended question 2 focuses on how do students feel about autonomy, and that information, that data will be used to help answer research question 1. And then open-ended question 3 is about, does it matter if you actually like your teacher? How does that impact your motivation? And that information, that data will be used to help answer research question 2. The Likert scale questions, there are 8 of them. I spent a lot of time researching survey design, and based on some of the research that informed how I set up the survey, Hartley and Betts found that if you start your Likert scale survey with the highest option first on a linear scale, so if you start with strongly agree and then your linear scale goes to strongly disagree, that the higher option gets picked more frequently. And then building off of that, Meta found that if you arrange the options horizontally, that it kind of eliminates that selection bias. So based on this information, I have arranged the options starting with strongly agree down to strongly disagree horizontally with the highest option first. So each question is paired. So questions 4 and 5 are together, 6 and 7, 8 and 9, 10 and 11. Questions 4 and 5 provide data for research question 2. Same thing with 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. They all provide data that will help answer research question 2. And then questions 10 and 11 provide data that will help answer research question 1. Questions 4 and 5 are focusing on when I like the classroom environment, I like my teacher, and then the inverse, when I don't like my classroom environment, I dislike my teacher. Questions 6 and 7, when I like the classroom environment, I motivate myself in class, and then when I don't like the classroom environment, I do not motivate myself. 8 and 9, when I like the teacher, I motivate myself in class, and then when I don't like the teacher, I do not motivate myself in class. And then finally, questions 10 and 11, when the teacher lets me have the choice in how I do my work, I like the class, and then when the teacher determines how I get my work done, I do not like the class. So again, these Likert scale questions will be used to gather quantitative data that will answer the research questions 1 and 2. And then the Likert scale questions and the open-ended questions, the entire student survey, that process will be piloted here in April 2018 in a senior English course. The reason I selected an English senior level course is because it will not remove those students from the potential sample population in the fall because they will already have graduated. After the pilot has been completed, I will calculate the inter-item correlation to see if there is a real true connection between the items. The teacher survey will be conducted from September 10th to the 21st. It has one open-ended question which allows the teachers to explain strategies that they use to establish their classroom environment and build relationships with their students. The responses will be analyzed using MaxQDA, and I'm also piloting the teacher survey this month, April 2018, in a neighboring school district with a colleague that I met while getting my teaching degree. The teacher survey question is, in your own words, describe how you create good relationships with the students while they're in your classroom. And that data will be used to help answer question 3. So the teacher observations will be conducted from September 3rd all the way to November 16th. They will be recorded class sessions. There will be a camera set up for 1 to 2 days prior to recording. That way that will hopefully help reduce some performative actions of the students and they can act more naturally during the recording. I'm looking for elements related to self-determination theory of relatedness and autonomy while viewing the documents, and I will use the classroom observation tool to take notes and gather data. And then those notes will be uploaded into MaxQDA. So the data collection procedure will differ for each data collection tool. So in order to gather permission for the student survey, there will be both consent and assent forms, implied consent for the teacher survey, and then consent forms for the teachers that volunteer to participate in the classroom observations. So for the student survey, I will send out an email on Monday, October 29th to have the teachers post the survey on their Google Classroom page, and then the students will voluntarily complete the survey. The survey contains the necessary directions. I will email the teachers on Monday, November 12th, just as a follow-up to have them make sure that they complete it, and the survey will close Friday, November 16th. For the teacher survey, I will email the teachers asking for them to voluntarily complete the survey on Monday, September 10th. I'll follow up with them on Monday, September 17th, and then it will close Friday, September 21st. For the classroom observations, I will send out an email on Monday, August 27th, seeking volunteers to participate, and those observations will run from Tuesday, September 4th to Friday, November 16th. My goal is to do 2 recordings per week. Each week I will email the teachers that are due to be recorded to go over protocol, and then as I watch the recordings, each volunteer will be assigned a random number to protect their identities. And this is the data collection tool that I will use. I will write down my notes in the observation comments column as I watch the observations and make notes on elements related to self-determination theory and the elements of relatedness and autonomy. Data analysis will depend upon each data collection tool and whether it's quantitative or qualitative data. For the student survey with the Likert scale questions, that will provide quantitative data. So the quantitative data will be analyzed in a couple different ways. The negative question in each question pair will be reverse coded. So if they answer like a 1 being the lowest, it will become the highest being a 5, and so on. 2 becomes a 4, so on. Alpha will be set at 0.05. This will allow for evaluation of the true value of the results. I'll also conduct or calculate the mean for each question, and then the construct scores for teacher-student relationships, classroom environment, and student intrinsic motivation will be determined to get a better idea of how this data answers the 3 research questions and how those 3 elements of teacher-student relationships, classroom environment, and student intrinsic motivation work together. The open-ended questions will all be uploaded into MaxQDA and then evaluated in a similar fashion. There will be a several-step coding process. The first time through, I will evaluate the data and analyze, is it relatedness or autonomy? And then I'll go through on a second and further coding process and identify more specific elements related to relatedness and autonomy. The teacher survey will follow a similar fashion. Upload the data into MaxQDA, first separate the data into relatedness and autonomy, and then boil it down deeper into different elements and different specific details related to those 2 factors. The classroom observations will follow a similar process. I will watch the recorded class sessions and take notes in the data collection tool, and then those notes will be uploaded into MaxQDA, and then it'll be a similar coding process with elements being split up by relatedness or autonomy, and then focusing on the more specific details related to those. And across all 3 qualitative elements in MaxQDA, I will look at how frequently codes appear to kind of use that information to help look at what strategies that the teachers are using to help build their classroom environment and teacher-student relationships, which will help answer all of the research questions, but most specifically research question 3. There are a couple different assumptions built in or kind of assumed here in the research study. One, obviously I'm assuming that participants are answering honestly. I'm assuming my instruments provide data related to the research questions. And then there are some limitations. Obviously the study is only being conducted at one school, so you have to kind of factor in that element. It is not focusing on grades K through 8 or the college level. It is just the high school level. And then there is that potential for individuals to opt not to participate in the study. So I hope this has provided some insight into the research study that I am planning to conduct, and I look forward to any potential feedback that may be given. Thank you.